We are going to be digging into like, I know most of you have been in the community for a while. Some of you are coming from outside of Paid Traffic Insiders, but for those of you who do know how I like to do this, I just give you fucking everything, right? Like the entire playbook, all the strategies, the tactics, the how to do it, etc. So yeah, that's what we're going to be digging into today. We're going to obviously dig into strategy, and we're going to dig into what you guys need to do. So, awesome. You guys can see me as well, right? And you can see the presentation too. If I could just get like a thumbs up from Francisco, I can see you on my screen. Perfect. Okay, sweet. Cool. Let me go full screen here as well. And then I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. I've got like 2 other tabs that are outside of the deck also. So at some point I'll switch over and whatnot too. So let's get this going. 106, we're 6 minutes in. What we're going to dig into today is how to get 10 coaching clients in 30 days or less without posting 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So this is exactly what we're going to cover. I'm going to break down the exact ad, offer, and funnel structure that we use to scale one coaching business to $262,000 a week. And I shit you not, guys, I'm not big on outlandish claims. That was done primarily with 2 ads in basically 2 years. And I'm going to break down that structure for you. A bunch of examples, proof, etc. What you guys need to do to get 10 or more coaching clients in 6 steps. I'm going to give you all of those steps, and then I'm going to break each step down into exact detail as well. Some of you guys know me. I can be long-winded. I give a lot in these. My goal is to have us done in about 45 to 50 minutes. I am aiming to save 10 minutes for Q&A at the end as well. But if you're willing to hang on longer, and I do go over, this is, obviously a live, so I'm going to try to push the pace. But as you know, like it's live and I might not hit the hour. So obviously if this content is of interest to you, we may go over with regards, it's 107 Eastern here, so we might go past 2:00 Eastern. Why Meta sends you shit leads and what you need to do to fix it. I'm going to give you an exact SOP for that, like no bullshit. And it's not better creative either. It's one of the solutions. And then as always, got giveaways and free stuff for you guys. I got some spreadsheets and things that are going to help you with this as well. So, and as always, like, engage in the chat. We're going to do some polls and stuff. Like if you have questions, pop them in there. If I see the question and I can answer it through like the training, I'll do that. Otherwise, it's good for me to see it for the end as well. So don't hesitate to like drop stuff in there. Introduce yourselves as well. We've got 36 people here, so names and locations would be great. Janice, good to meet you. So if we have not met before, my name's Will Perry. I'm the founder of Reason and Paid Traffic Insiders. I've been doing the consulting thing with online businesses since 2015. We built this community here to be several thousand now at this point, 100 million sales and 100 million ad spend under my belt. This is me and the new wife on the right-hand side. Just got married a couple of weeks ago. So we got married in Breckenridge, Colorado. So that was super exciting. And I've built 3 now 7-figure plus consulting and agency businesses. And last year grew our primary business to 8 million. Done a bunch of trainings for CXL, AdWorld, podcast, speaking, all the stuff that makes me probably look more authoritative than I am. But as you guys know, from a strategy perspective, I just like to give you guys the value so that you can go do the things that you want to do, hit your goals, etc. So We do a lot of testing internally, obviously, and then when we find shit, we give it back to you guys. So quick poll, if you could engage in the chat for me. Scale of 1 to 5, how much is lead gen a challenge for you right now? 1 being it's not a challenge at all, 5 being like it's a big challenge for my business. So I've got 1 from Lance, which means I need 38 more responses. So want to get 4s, couple 4s in there. A 3. Aaron, you're an OG. I don't even know why you're here. Good to see you though. Anyways, so we've definitely got some 4s and 5s in there, which is just kind of helps me, right? Like, you know, am I even hitting the mark? How many of you are feeling like you're getting shit leads right now? Just drop me a 1. How many feel like you're getting shit leads? You know, whether it's from Google, Facebook, you know, TikTok, etc. Meta. Definitely got some 1s coming in. That's why we're here. We are here to solve this problem. This is probably the culmination of like 10 years of work that I'm going to share with you guys today, like straight up. A lot of trials and errors. And I'm not just going to give you the normal stuff today either. Like there is a likelihood that 1 or 2 of the 39 that are on here right now might know something about what I'm about to share. But what I am going to go to from a strategy perspective, we've never done a training on, and very few people know how to do it. So why does Meta send you shit leads? I like to keep things fun as well. Like, I'm going to use an analogy. Does anyone here have a septic tank at their home? Maybe they live in an older home in their town or in their city. For me, my house was built in the 1950s or 60s here in Orlando. So we live on a septic. So if you know what that means and what that looks like, when your septic gets full of shit, literal shit, poo, and toilet paper, a big truck has to come by and they suck the shit out of the box that's either in your front yard or in your backyard. A lot of these old homes don't have sewer systems, right? So they have these big tanks. So I used this little GIF meme from Joe Dirt. So if you're a Joe Dirt fan, I'm a big Joe Dirt fan. Literally, there's this moment in the movie where he feels like he found a bomb, but it's actually like a septic tank, and then it opens up and all the poop literally spills all over his head, and it's just a hilarious moment in the movie. So why would I use this analogy? Well, there's really like people tell me, and they've told me for years, like Meta doesn't work for me, the leads suck. Or how many of you have had a sales team say to you, whether it's you've been internal within the brand or you have an agency and you've worked with sales teams and they're like, the leads suck, like these leads are trash, like these leads are crap, right? Well, the thing is that you get what you put in. And the reason that I use the septic tank example is, what would you expect to come out of the septic tank? There's only one answer. It's just shit. Like, you put shit in, you get shit out, right? So what I'm going to teach you guys today is how to not put shit in to the tank so that you don't get shit back out. Or in other words, how do you feed it with gold, so to speak, so that you can get gold on the other side? And again, it's not just better creative. Better creative is just like one piece of it. So that sort of like sets the frame for today. So this is what is actually happening. Some of you may know what a qualified lead is for your business, but many of you probably do not. So if you don't know what a qualified lead is, you're not telling Meta what a qualified lead is. And then you're not training the Pixel and Conversion API on what a qualified lead is. And then you're not disqualifying unqualified leads from the Pixel and from Conversion API. When I say lead, you guys could think maybe applications, calls, booked calls, appointments. Some of you might just consider it a client or a prospect. I'm sort of lumping that all together for sake of today. And if you're not disqualifying unqualified leads, then you continue to send unqualified lead data to Meta, which means that you continue to get shit leads. Who agrees with me? Anybody agree? Like, how many of you do not know, and it's okay, how many of you do not know what a qualified lead is for your business? Zero judgment here, by the way. There is zero judgment. That's what we're going to work on. I'm going to give you a framework for this as well, and a little matrix exercise. So this is exactly the 6-step process that we're going to use to solve this problem. This is how you get coaching clients like clockwork in 6 steps. And every one of these 6 steps, we're going to break down in detail today. Step 1, I'm going to teach you how to define what a qualified lead is, call app client. I'm going to show you how to implement a lead scoring system into your strategy. I'm then going to show you how to train conversion API through the pixel with this lead scoring system through disqualification. And then I'm going to show you the exact ad, offer, and funnel structure that you will need to use in order to book and close deals. Who's excited for this? Give me some hands. I better see 43 hands. Well, I guess 2 people are from my team. I better see 40 hands. So we're going to break all this down. Okay. So hopefully you're willing to stick it out with me, and, because I don't know how long this is going to take me. I'm just going to give it to you. So how this, so like always, right? Want to give you guys proof, got a bunch of examples. These are the 3 elements on the front end from the ads side of it or the marketing side of it. We're going to break down the ad structure, which is a native VSL structure. I've got 3 examples for you. I'm going to show you the examples. The offer, which, by the way, guys, guess what kind of offer this is that we're on right now? This is a free training. I'm going to break down multiple free training offers for you. And then I'm going to show you the exact funnel and the exact funnel steps, which has 5 specific steps. And I'm going to show you how to use the application to collect qualifying data so that you can train the pixel with it. So here's the proof. Here's the 260,000+ in revenue. Here's the 153,000 leads that we that we generated from this structure. And here's the 12,197 book calls. This is just a tracking sheet that we implement internally when we're running these types of funnels. One thing that I want to point out, if you've ever been sort of like on this side of the table, I know I've got some agency guys on the call, like Yanni or Fred or Jeremiel, I think I saw, for example. Clients don't really like it when you share their exact shit. So I have to be very mindful sometimes. Sometimes I have to sign NDAs on this stuff. So I have to get creative sometimes on how I sort of break this stuff down to you. So it's a little bit easier to show like an internal tracking sheet, for example. I actually forgot to include the screenshot of the ad account in this presentation, if I'm being honest. That was something that I meant to add last night and I forgot. So there's that. What I'm going to break down is essentially this entire strategy is built on the teach and pitch, essentially demo your expertise model. So we're going to build that into literally everything that we do. So I promised the exact ad structure. Here's 3 ads, for example. I've included ads from people from the community, and then I showed, or I have an ad here as well, which is one of ours, so that you can see the congruence of the strategy. So bear with me real quick. I'm just going to switch over to this ad preview, and I'm going to show you guys the ad, and then we're going to jump back to the slide deck. I'm going to break it down, and we'll go through that. So this is like a 60 to 90 second video. So I'm just going to play this.
The sort of holy grail on guitar is full creative expressiveness or fluency. And a lot of people think that you have to spend 10,000 hours and be supernaturally gifted in order to get there, but I'm actually here to tell you that you don't need any of that stuff. You can actually get there in a matter of months instead of years. All it takes is just employing the right strategy to get there. This training is going to help break you out of that rut of playing the same thing every single time you sit down to practice, and it's going to give you a real framework that you can follow in the practice.
So quick pause. How well do you guys think that this ad would perform if it was just this talking head guy? How well do you guys think it would perform? Pop it in the chat. I don't care if you use numbers, if you use like emojis, words, sentences. How well do you think it would perform? Not well, says Janice. Like shit, says Maseo. So essentially what I'm getting at is, and let's carry on to the other slide, this is what we call the native VSL ad format. The keys to this working are, it's typically anywhere between 60 seconds and 2 minutes. It is essentially an ugly ad. I want you to think iPhone quality, not high production, because that video is going to look and feel like an Instagram reel, a TikTok video, etc. It's going to look very organic. It's going to look very native. It's not going to look like an ad at all. And that is one of the key pieces to the strategy, is that you don't want your content to look like an ad. You want it to look like organic content when you guys are scrolling through your feed. I've used this example with some of you guys before, and some of you might be familiar with it. My office is at the front of the house. I've got 2 double windows, and I've got a sidewalk that leads straight across the front of my office to the front of the door. And I get to see all of the solicitors multiple times per week who come down my driveway, walk across my sidewalk, and come to my door in anticipation of them knocking. Well, it doesn't matter what they're selling or what they have to say. I'm automatically coming into that experience with resistance, right? It doesn't matter if they have the best solar, lawn care, pesticide, whatever it is, offer in the world. I don't want my windows replaced right now, and I sure as heck don't want to give you an hour of my time so that you can book your appointment, right? And the reason that the native VSL ad is so important is that the video starts first with organic content that is relatable to the outcome, problem, or current situation of the prospect. So if we think about the video that we just watched, we've got these guys that are ripping it on the guitar, right? Well, that is the after state or the outcome that someone who wants to learn how to play guitar well, that's what they want, right? So we want to communicate that in the hook. Give them the content first, then start hard selling them and pitching them. So if you saw at about, and we've tested like so many different time-based structures on the example that you just saw. I mean, we've had hooks that are 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, etc. I'm not as much hung up on that part today, so much as that the video starts with something that the people would want to see or watch, and then it transitions into the point of the pitch, right? Where, you know, the guy with the beanie, he's talking about what life would be like if you learned how to play guitar well, what it's like before and after. He's handling objections. He's framing the solution on how you get towards what he calls fretboard fluency, right? So that's the 3 parts to the ad. You've got the hook, the body, and then the CTA. And the call to action is basically going to be the offer to get the solution to the next step, right? So we didn't watch the remaining part there of the video, but that's basically what happens. He's like, hey, if you want help, check out this free training. And that's the part that I'm going to touch on next, which is the offer portion of the acquisition strategy. So that's the exact ad structure. So there's 3 ad structures here. All of these, I should say rather, are set up the same way. This video starts, the one in the middle rather, this one in the middle, starts with basically like testimonial style content from customers talking about basically what their previous situation was like prior to joining, you know, this program. And then here I reveal what I call a leaked secret, where it's like inside this portal. You guys are used to seeing Loom videos. This is obviously a strategy that we've used. You guys have probably seen this ad like a million freaking times at this point. So that's the exact ad structure. We call that the native VSL format. The reason we say VSL is you've got that talking head portion of the expert within the coaching program, right? So it might be me, it might be, you know, this guy here, it might be, you know, the guy with the beanie, for example, in this the example that we watched. So that is the exact ad structure. If you guys have if you have questions about the ad structure at the end, we certainly can touch on that. Actually, let me jump back to this one part real quick. This VSL specifically in this ad was responsible for probably about 7,000 to 8,000. I'm sorry, 7,000 to 8,000. Probably 100,000+ of those 150 some odd thousand leads, and probably about 8,000 or 9,000 of those total booked calls, because this creates a very lasting ad format, right? Nobody ever sees the VSL portion of the video if they don't get past this organic content first, right? So if you're using this example of a guitar program, you've got so many different ways that you could demonstrate guitar. For example, if Fred loves country music and I love heavy metal, well, if this video, I don't know if Fred likes country music or not, maybe he does, I'm not sure. But if Fred were to hear some sort of country music sort of like riff in this video, he might be like, oh man, I've always wanted to learn how to play that song. Something that might be heavy metal oriented might not attract his attention, right? Yeah, God's Country, I love it. And so you can optimize the hook of this ad structure while not having to change really the sales pitch. This is a sales pitch. That's why we call it a VSL. So that's the ad structure, the native VSL ad structure, responsible for driving all of those leads in that example, and all the calls. So, all right, let me skip on to the next slide. Got to jump back here. Now let's talk about the offer structure, meaning like, how do you obtain leads and how do you start triggering this process of client acquisition? Straight up, I've never been a fan of lead magnet strategies. I know there's a lot of people out there who use ebooks and lead magnets and different things like that. I want to get people exposed to the expertise. I want to get them exposed to what life would be like on the other side, working with the service or working with the business or the brand, right? So here's a few examples of, if you were to use the native VSL ad structure and run it directly to a free training offer. Here's a couple of examples. Again, by the way, guys, here's one of our offers, right? Like, we're literally on a free training right now. We've used this same exact process to get everybody here on this call. You've got this example here, which is an example for a sort of like CFO / accounting type practice where they're teaching bookkeepers and accountants how to get more bookkeeping clients, right? So they're running the ads, they're going to a free training offer, they're giving them this system, this expertise, this process, this SOP that they can then go implement into their business. And if they, there's kind of a couple of options basically at that point. Maybe there's a done with you service, a done for you service, or at minimum, some way to work together in order to implement this solution, right? And so, yes, Janice, you did get here by way of an email. Some people got here by way of an ad. And here's another sort of example where same funnel structure was triggered again by a free training. Now on the, did I include this on my slide actually? Okay, I did kind of. Let me skip to the next slide because I was going to start talking about the free training specifically. So on the free training, you're now going to demonstrate a specific problem your prospect has and give them a specific solution to fix it. The format can be live or automated. Some of the examples that I just showed you, actually 2 of the 3 examples, because one of the examples is ours, Those two are automated. This format is live. But you've got to lead with value rather, and you've got to go into a hyper amount of detail because it's what sets the frame for the next step. So if you're a fitness coach, if you are an accountant like the one previously, if you do business type consulting like this business here, or if you're a lawyer, if you have a credit repair business. I don't know if Scott is here. Scott, this is why I was thinking about you when I can't see if he's on there or not. Just about anything, if you provide expertise to someone else who needs your expertise, you can craft a free training offer, essentially, that shows them the solution to their problem. And I want you guys to not hold anything back. I'm a big advocate of authenticity, giving people all of the value, all of the details of the value, the what and the how. You want to give them obviously examples and give them frameworks and checklists and tangible things that they can use, which is why I'm giving you the exact structure today. And at the end of it, you're basically going to make a pitch for the next step. Like, here's how you go implement this solution. You can do it yourself, you can do it with us, or we can do it for you, right? So again, in that coaching type of environment, it's kind of a sales-led process, right? How many of you guys feel like prospects or clients sort of, buy from you when you have an opportunity to present to them or to speak to them or get in front of them or demonstrate to them? How many of you guys feel really good in that environment? So pop it in the chat, just give me some ones, some yeses, some thumbs ups if you want. I'll touch on Moritz's question. It's a good question with regards to is over teaching a problem. The way that I would answer that is very industry specific. If you're competing in a very competitive space like we are, biz opportunity, wealth management, weight loss, I don't think that you could possibly ever over communicate with regards to expertise, because you're aiming for differentiation in that scenario. And the personality is a big part of that, in my opinion. And so that's why I'm a big advocate of the authenticity side, because people smell bullshit, man. And that's why, for you guys who've been here a while, who've been in Paid Traffic Insiders, I love you. I've appreciated all of your support. I think you guys know how real we try to be, how transparent we try to be, how authentic we try to be, having integrity. Because to be honest, there's a lot of shady people in the marketing, sales / biz op space, right? There's people who, Nick, there'll be a recording. There's people who scam people out of money, and that does happen. We don't want to be anything like that. We want to be so far away from that. And that's why I'm a big advocate of the authenticity. So on that free training, so let's say that you were like, Will, I want to go build a free training offer for, my clients, or so that I can get clients. Think about all of the individual teachings that you have, the individual expertises that you have, and you could create a specific training around that. Like for today, for example, the training is around how to fix shit leads. And that's the part that we're about to get into next, right? So that's a core problem that a lot of advertisers have. I'm going to literally set the frame, give all the detail, massive amount of value, not hold anything back, right? And then I'm literally doing this while I'm showing you guys how to do it at the same time. Again, leading with integrity. And you want to just demonstrate that entire process, because that's what's ultimately going to attract people to want to work with you from a coaching and consulting perspective. Is if you can show them that you can help them, they're like, yeah, this guy or this team or this business, they can probably help me. They clearly know what they're doing, right? And that's why this teach and pitch format is so important. So now I'm going to break down the exact funnel structure. So we talked about the ad, right? So the ad drives traffic to the offer, which is how you acquire a lead, an initial lead. And then You're going to work them through this funnel or these steps specifically to arrive them ultimately at the point of closing the deal. So you've got the opt-in. So we looked at those 3 examples. They're all triggered by an opt-in, right? So the opt-in for this, for example, is a free training around a specific thing. Then they're going to, in more of an automated type format, not live, they're going to have the opportunity to watch the free training. On the free training, we're going to soft pitch some sort of next step, right? So if you are, I'll use Francisco as an example because Francisco and I were talking about this yesterday. He's working with a, and I'll just keep it simple. He's working with a coach / expert who has a fitness training program. I know it's much more unique than that, Francisco, but I'll just keep it basic for today. So that free training would demonstrate, let's say, the methodology on the free training. And then his name is Jose, right? So hey, Jose is going to soft pitch his plan, his workout regimen, his 12-week program, his 9-week program, his 8-week program, whatever it is. He's going to soft pitch that, right? And then from the watch video, we're then going to go to an application. I'm going to dig into what an application looks like. But on the application, we're going to collect qualifying data. I'm going to share with you some examples of typical qualifying questions, because then we're going to use the qualifying question data. Depending on what CRM you guys are using, we use Go High Level. A lot of you guys know that. Maybe you're using HubSpot or whatever. You can build the application into your calendar, or you could use something like Typeform and build the application basically within a embedded experience within your landing page, which then just redirects to the book a call page from there. I'm not going to get too hung up on the technical aspects of this. If you guys have specific questions about this one step, I'm happy to answer them. But essentially in the application, we're then going to collect this qualifying data, and then we're going to let them book a call. And then we're going to have the discovery call, and we're going to pitch, something like a $3,500 to $25,000 offer. Obviously, that's individual and unique to each one of your businesses, right? Some of you might not have a super high ticket offer. Some of you might be operating more in this, $3,500 to $5,000 range. Okay, cool. So now we're going to get into the specifics of actually how to leverage this from, actually, let me skip back real quick. All of these funnels, all of these funnel structures have that same, all of these offers have this same exact funnel structure built into them. So that's why I'm going to go to this part next, because now we're going to get into the true tactical and the execution of how to use the qualified lead data, which is ultimately how you're going to solve the problem of shit leads. So step 1, we need to define what a qualified lead is. Here are some common qualification criteria. I know that this isn't going to apply directly for all of you. It would be hard for me to give you guys just sort of like a blanket, statement, so to speak. Income and revenue. So for example, on an application, you might say something like, how much revenue are you generating monthly for your business? If you're running an agency or a consulting business, right? You could have a drop-down question in your application that says, how much revenue are you generating in your business? Is it 0 to 10,000 a month? Is it 10,000 to 30,000 a month? Is it 30 to 50? Is it 50 to 100? I'm going to show you on the next slide how to use that information. You could ask age. Maybe age is important for your offer. For example, I'll just stick with Francisco's example. Francisco's going to get some specific feedback today. Maybe Jose, who is his fitness coach, expert, maybe Jose only works with women over 35, right? Well, or 45 even. Maybe that information is really important. We don't want to market to millennials for whatever reason. Or actually, this is going to date me now. That would actually be Gen Z. So maybe location is important. Maybe they only work with, it's still kind of summer here in Florida. Maybe they, let's say you own some sort of seasonal roofing business. Maybe you shovel snow or plow snow for people in Wisconsin. Location might be really important. If they're located in Florida, Like, we want to keep those people out of our campaign. A lot of lead gen guys struggle because some of the targeting has changed, right, over the last really 6 to 12 months. You can't tightly target as much. Gender is definitely one for sure. If you run more of like a B2B type offer, willingness to invest, like yes or no, super important. Maybe years in business, whether they have an active business, do they have a valid website? So if you really want to make sure, like, let's say again that you're B2B instead of B2C, like some of this could be business to consumer, some of this could be business to business. If it's really important for your guys' business as a qualified lead that they have an active business, for example, we have a current client where the age range that they want to work with is 25 to 55. Someone who's over 55, because their solution is more technology based, often difficult for someone over 55 to implement a new technology. So that's really important. One of the other things is active years in business. They don't want to work with startups or people who just got their business operation going, etc. So that's really important. Like, so when the sales team's like, these leads are shit, well, are we giving them leads that where people don't even have businesses? Well, I'm going to show you how to disqualify those people from not even getting to the booked call in the first place, and then actually train Meta to not bring you those people. So we have to first define what a qualified lead is. And then once we do that, bear with me, I'm going to switch over to my spreadsheet here. This is what I call the lead scoring matrix. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys as well. So let's just stick with a B2B type of example. Maybe you're selling software, maybe you're selling, let's just say you're selling performance coaching, maybe you're selling marketing services, for example. This example was built based on that. So we've got scores of 0 to 5, red being not qualified at all, green being super qualified. So a 0 would be not qualified, a 1 would not be qualified, and anything in this example, 2, 3, 4, or 5 would be qualified. So yes, they are qualified. So for example, if let's say Yanni, I know Yanni works with brand owners, right? I think Yanni's still on the call. If Yanni had advertisers, for example, who are coming to them, or brands, right? Yanni does a lot of TikTok advertising, coaching and things. He might say someone who's doing less than 10K a month in revenue for their e-com brand, they're not qualified for my business. They're a 0. Maybe not even someone who's doing $25,000 a month in revenue in their brand is qualified for me. That's going to be a 1. He says, you know what? I'm willing to work with anyone doing more than 25K a month in revenue because I can help them get results. Okay, great. In this example, we've stair-stepped that out to a 2, 3, 4. And then if he wanted to have a 5, maybe they're doing like 200,000 a month or more. You have some flexibility here because obviously, guys, this is customized for you. In my opinion, I would not have more than 2 qualifying criteria because 1, it's going to be really difficult for you to optimize in the ad platform for the event that you're looking for. A booked call, a lead, a complete registration, a submit application, something like that. So I wouldn't be too restrictive here early on. You can add layers of criteria later on. So let's say, for example, the second criteria that Yanni wanted was just someone's willingness to want to invest in themselves and in their business, right? So if they're a no, we're going to mark them as a 0. If they're a 1, maybe he would consider it. If they were willing to invest, but they're doing 20K a month, he might be like, all right, we like them, we'll help them, right? But outside of that, everyone else is a yes. And then that also means that they are qualified. So something that is really cool, I'm actually going to give you guys this lead scoring matrix today. So I'm going to send you the link in the chat at the end of the training. So everyone's going to get access to that. So that way you can use it and start building your qualification criteria. So we've even got like some of those criteria on the side here. So income and revenue, age, location, willingness to invest, years in business, etc. Like I said, keep in mind, these are just common examples. It's, without knowing literally everyone's specific business, you would likely have some specific qualification criteria. I'll make up one on the spot, for example, and I'll use Francisco again. Francisco just so happens to have one of the 4 primary positions in my block of 4 at the bottom of my screen right now. So I just keep seeing his face. I see Brant, who's on our team. I see Francisco, and then I see Fred's little bubble screenshot, and then I see an M. So that's all I get to see because there's too many people on the call. So if for Francisco, for example, if it was really important, let me actually back up a step. Let's say that Francisco's training program, weight loss program, diet program, nutrition program, however we want to frame it, is targeted specifically to people with immune conditions, meaning maybe they had IBS, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, or something like that. For some of you guys that know, elimination diets often help people with immune disorders, right? So let's just set the frame as that's the example. Maybe in the qualification or the application, there's a question that says, do you have a medical illness that prevents you from losing weight, for example, or for keeping weight off or something like that? And it says, Crohn's, RA, what was the other one I said? Crohn's, RA, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, etc. That's just one example, because if his ad is talking about the 5 steps to leading a healthy life with an autoimmune condition, he's now controlling the messaging on the front end. They now come into the free training. They get the 5 steps. They go through the application, right? They fill out that form. Yes, I do have one of these conditions. I mean, Francisco, in that example, that sounds like a pretty ultra qualified lead to me, right? Super consistent throughout that, right? The next part that we're going to touch on now is how to use that application data to train Meta. So everyone's going to get access to this spreadsheet. So I'm going to shoot that over to you guys afterwards. And what I want you guys to do, here is your homework. I want you to come up with what these qualification criteria are. And then I want you to come up with the details of what these the details to this qualification criteria. And then I want you to think of it like an application question, right? So do you have one of these 5 autoimmune conditions? Boom, 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 boom. It could be a yes or no, or it could be like asking them specifically, right? Because then you can actually build the application around that. So, hold on real quick. Where am I with that? Build the qualification criteria on that. Okay, cool. Because then the next part that we're going to go into is essentially how to build this into disqualification, because that's the next step. Next step is we're going to disqualify. Okay, that's where I was going with that. So if you have this example where someone says, no, I don't want to invest, or their score of a 0 or a 1, we're going to disqualify them from, I'm going to talk to you guys in terms of Facebook terminology now. So if you're optimizing your ad campaign for a lead, if you're optimizing your ad campaign for a call, I'm talking about the ad objective, right? If you're optimizing your ad campaign for a complete registration or a submit application, you're actually going to not, very clearly, not fire the event if the application score is a 0 or a 1. Super important, because this is where that example of if you continue to feed unqualified lead data to the algorithm, you're going to continue to get shit leads. Well, unless we disqualify the unqualified leads, we're going to continue to get more of them. And then what you guys want to start tracking is what we call, I'm going to draw this on the screen, SQL percentage. SQL percentage means how many of the total leads were sales qualified leads. So if you had 100 leads and 75 of them were qualified, you now have a new KPI in your business that says 75% of all of my leads were qualified. So now when your marketing team and your sales team are battling about how qualified the leads are, we've just all agreed that this is what a qualified lead is. This may need to change Maybe they're like, man, we're getting so many leads. I only want 3, 4s, and 5s now. Well, then we're just going to disqualify 0s, 1s, and 2s, right? And I'm actually going to show you my workflow in Go High Level of how I disqualify and fire that back to Conversion API. But like I said, first with my promises, everyone here is going to get access to the lead scoring sheet. So I'm going to give that to everybody. And everyone's also, oh, hold on one sec. I need to switch my tab back. Everyone's also going to get access to Inner Circle coaching program for 30 days for free today. So I'm going to send you those 2 links at the end of the training. We sell this PTI program for $3,600 a year. So all of the stuff that I'm talking about implementing, we help you guys with in Paid Traffic Insiders. So practice what you preach, right? So here's like the secret sauce, if I'm really being honest with you. The last 2 slides are the secret sauce. The lead scoring system based on defining what a qualified lead is, and then using that information to train Conversion API. Can I just get a quick vote of hands? Can you guys actually see this? Is it too small? Or do I need to blow it up a little bit? Can you see it? Brant, can you see it? Is it clear enough on screen? Cool. Mo says yes. All right, sweet. Stephanie says too small. I'll try to blow it up anyway. Bear with me for one quick second. Let me see if this will let me do this while I'm presenting. Might have to do it like that. That'll help at least a little bit, and then I'll go back to screen share mode. Okay, so can you actually see the note at the bottom? Okay, kind of. So what I'm going to share with you, you can do this in HubSpot, and we have done it in HubSpot as well. You're just going to need Cometly and Zapier in order to do it, which means you need more of a tech stack. Within Go High Level, and one of the reasons why I'm such an advocate of Go High Level is that I can actually build this disqualification into my Conversion API when it is set up in Go High Level. I don't know if Fern is here. How many of you guys are using High Level? How many of you guys are using HubSpot? If you're using something else, pop it in the chat. Would just be good to find out. Fred's using GHL. Cool. So this will help you. Francis. Okay, great. Brant. Sam. Oh, wow. More of you guys are using GHL than I thought. So this is actually good for you. Coach-O-Matic. Cool. Yeah, for sure. All right. So if you guys are familiar, the CEO, well, there's some way that you could get this to work together. You're just going to have to use spreadsheets and Zapier in order to do it. So this is a screenshot straight from one of our workflows, right? So you've got the form. This is that application. So you're taking in qualification questions. Let's just stick with the revenue actually, let's stick with the ad spend and revenue question, like for Yanni, for example, because I know enough about what Yanni does. So in this application I'm sorry, let's say that there's 2 questions. One question says, how much are you spending per month on ad spend? And then there's a tier, right? So it's 0 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 25,000, and so on, right? And then maybe the second question says, how much revenue are you doing? I'm doing less than 2 million. I'm doing 2 to 5 million. I'm doing 5 to 10 million. I'm doing 10 million or more, right? So you can set up conditions, right? So if the lead application, complete registration call is spending less than $5,000 in ads and doing less than $2 million a year, we are not going to send this to Facebook Conversion API, which means that the lead event, the call event, the complete registration, the submit application event does not fire. In that example, you could send them to a downsell offer. You could send them to, let's say that you were booking calls straight after your VSL, right? So bear with me for a second, because I know this is like a little complex and advanced at the same time. Just set the frame real quick. You ran an ad to a free training. From the free training, that free training books a call, right? So if you're using the complete registration event or the call event to optimize your campaign, right? The call event would fire after they book the call, right? In the funnel steps. So if we don't fire the call event, Meta will not continue to find us these unqualified leads. They will look to find us the 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. And I'll show you an example of how quickly this can work. So you have to set up the disqualification in your CRM with your lead scoring. You've got to know what a qualified lead is. You've got to set up lead scoring on what a qualified lead is so that you can use the lead scoring data to qualify and disqualify so that you can train the pixel, which is what this is all about. Right, so I'm going to just jump back so you have like the broader level view. We're training the pixel through disqualification, right? So I'm telling Meta, I don't want calls if they're spending $5,000 a month on ads. So here's where the disclaimer comes in, and it's not like a bait and switch type thing. You guys have to be willing to spend more for a lead, right? How many of you would rather have more qualified leads and calls, even if it cost a little bit more, and not spend money on the shit leads that you're actually spending money on anyways, right? So if 8 out of 10 of your leads are not qualified, you're still paying for the 8 out of 10. I'd rather just pay $100 a call, right, and get 2 calls than spend $20 per call. I'm making these numbers up. $20 per call would be outrageous, right? I'd rather spend, instead of having $20 per call and have a bunch of bad calls that now my salespeople and my appointment setters are having to go through constantly, it affects team morale, right? Sales teams love getting on the phone with qualified prospects. So let's just set them up with qualified prospects. I'd rather my cost per booked call be $400 than have this vanity metric of it being $200 and I have just a bunch of fucking terrible leads. How many event triggers are you looking to optimize for in the pixel? Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, 50, always 50. So Yanni's asking a very advanced question, which is that if you're not firing, this is probably what you're getting at. If you can't yet fire the 50 calls, you have to optimize based on the previous step in the funnel first. So if upon sign up or opt into the free training, you might have to optimize based on lead or complete registration first until you get enough data on that event, until you can then move to optimizing for the call, right? I've also done this as well where, and this will be specific to Yanni as well as anyone else who's advanced on this call, you could also have 2 applications, a short application on the opt-in, maybe 1 or 2 questions, that then qualifies the registration, and then have a more detailed or more thorough application when they book the call, right? So you can, pardon me, you can kind of pre-qualify until you're actually able to run your entire ad campaign for the 50 events on the call. So yeah, Yanni, hopefully that helps answer that. Some of you who are just getting going with this, you're going to have to move through that phased approach. So how many of you guys have seen something like this before with regards to disqualification and training conversion API in the pixel? Has anybody seen this before? Janice has. Of course Janice has. Janice has been answering all the questions. I'm hoping I get like 35 no's and just 1 yes from Janice. This is really the super important part. Oh, you're a CRM trainer. Well, then you don't count, unfortunately, but I love the fact that you're here. What was I going to get to next? So training the pixel through disqualification. Oh, this is how quickly this can work. This is a live example that we implemented on June 15th. You'll see they were getting 40% qualified applications prior to the implementation of lead scoring, and then 70% qualified apps after implementing lead scoring and disqualification into event optimization and training the pixel. This brand now averages about 65 to 67% qualified applications because of this process. Super important that we define what a qualified lead is, implement lead scoring, and then I didn't even touch on the aspect of how you can, let me go back real quick. I didn't even touch on the aspect of how you can then use this information from the application to write ad copy and develop messaging. And a lot of you guys know that we love message-driven targeting. So I wasn't even going to include that in the training today, right? Because that's just one piece to this whole thing. It's not just better creative only. So as you're then now getting this qualification data, you can now craft ads specifically around this information to continue working those prospects, those qualified prospects, then back through into your funnel. So that's the disqualification portion. So in this example, we're disqualifying based on revenue. So Lance, no, message-driven targeting is not broad targeting. You're going to use broad targeting, meaning like men and women, 25 to 55, but you're going to use your ad copy hooks or your headlines, like how to get 10 coaching clients in 30 days or less. Well, the only person who's going to respond to this messaging, this hook, this headline, is someone that's a coach or has probably an agency, right? So that's an example of message-driven targeting. But the truth of the reality is, and I always say this with love, most marketers are not very good with ad copy, and most people who run ads are not very good at copywriting. And the messaging is a super important piece to that. So training through disqualification, like I said, you can do this in HubSpot. You can build lead scoring in HubSpot, but HubSpot does not work super nicely with Heroes, for example, in terms of rules of disqualification. You would need to use something like Cometly and then Zapier to get those two things to work together, and then create a custom event, essentially called qualified lead, that then is based on the lead scoring within HubSpot. Yeah, so yeah, most people do plain suck at copy. Zapier doesn't work as a standalone for this. You need to be able to, you can use a spreadsheet as like your CRM, and then qualify and disqualify on the spreadsheet, and then send that data back to the event, for example. But you just need to know how to basically use the spreadsheet and Zapier and whatnot. So I do know people who have used spreadsheets as like their CRM. We have a few in the community that use spreadsheets as their CRM. You would just then need to disqualify based on the logic within Zapier to be able to do that. So that's the, what was that? The third step, training the pixel through disqualification. And so we already went through steps 4 through 6. I gave you, I'm actually doing pretty decent on time. I actually haven't looked at the clock since we were at 1:08. So I am going to save time for questions. We already went through steps 4 through 6 rather. So we went through the native ad. We went through the offer structure on how to acquire leads for your coaching business. And then we went through the exact funnel structure that you need to use, which these are these 5 steps. I just hope that you guys are good at closing deals, because if you're good at closing deals, this is how you're going to get 10 or more coaching clients. This exact process. And then if you implement the qualification criteria, the lead scoring, and the disqualification, you are well on your way. And the reason I share this exact strategy in detail with you guys is because people ask me all the time, they're like, should I use a low ticket course and then like try to upsell them in the high ticket? Should I use lead magnets? Like should I do a webinar? Like what should I do? Right? Like I get that question all the time. And so, one of my things is I always just want to give you guys the exact step-by-step so that you can, I don't know about you, but like digital marketing can be still confusing as shit, even when you're advanced and at this level. It can be overwhelming of all the things that you could consider. And so, as always, I just like to give you guys the exact SOP so that you can get more to the, building and growing your business than being worried about, should I do a lead magnet or should I have a quiz funnel? I actually talked to an owner the other day who's like, I was thinking about doing quiz funnels. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want you to do quiz funnels. I was like, do exactly this. These are some of the best. I guess I should have mentioned this in the beginning. These are literally some of the best, highest performing from an ROI perspective campaigns and offers that I run to this exact day. This is the only stuff that I would want to run paid traffic to on the other end of it. Like this versus ecom, I'll sign up for these types of offers and funnels like every day of the week. High ticket makes for a lot of margin of error, you know, within, you know, the entire economics and the ROI of just running this type of ad strategy. So Eric, what is the difference between this and then a quiz funnel? So there are some similarities between the application and then the quiz, right? But you're then just going to use this information for disqualification after already pre-selling and demonstrating expertise. So if you're only leading with a quiz, right? Let's just say this is a quiz. You haven't been able to get information in front of them first to build intent in order for them to be like super hyped about taking the next step or solving the problem, right? And so that's why, for example, like you can pre-sell, you can demo the expertise. That's the differentiator. Whereas a quiz, you just don't have that opportunity, right? Maybe you could send them a video on the back end, but you know, on the front end, you can handle a lot of sales objections, you know, for your sales process and all that good stuff. So, you know, this can be applied in almost any realm. If you're offering professional services of any kind, you can apply literally everything that we touched on today, you know, to that process. So I just want to, I've got a couple more things that I want to share with you guys, and then I'll answer questions. I want you guys to finish this sentence for me. Cheap leads equals cheap. Pop it in the chat. Cheap leads equals cheap what? Remember, you get what you pay for. And so that's why we want to qualify our traffic. Cheap dates. It could be cheap dates, actually. And so I just wanted to leave you guys with a few mindset notes today. We've got 90 days left to the year. I was doing a lot of journaling the other day, and these were some of the questions that came up for me. You know, we share a lot of mindset stuff as well. It's not just always about tactics and, you know, ad tactics and offer tactics and marketing tactics. We're all entrepreneurs here as well. And, you know, I want to remind you guys that just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure. And some of the things that I was journaling about and I was writing down for myself was, what decisions have I not made yet to get what I want in my business? Right? So those decisions have been made by other people, and they've been able to get to points in their businesses that they've been able to get to. All it just means that I haven't made the decision yet. Could be anything. Could be a hiring move that you wanted to make. It could be an investment that you wanted to make. It could be a strategic pivot within the business you wanted to make. It could be giving yourself actual time off in the business. Like, what decisions have you not yet made to get what you want? What will you no longer stand for or not do that has created resentment for you in your business? How do you draw boundaries for yourself? How do you draw boundaries between yourself and your team and getting sucked into the business versus working on the business? I mean, man, I don't know about you guys, but this just hits home for me so much right now. And how will you raise the standard for yourself and plant your flag so that everyone else around you takes notice of the path that you are trudging forward? So I just wanted to like share some other different perspectives with you guys versus like, here's a bunch of marketing strategy. Like, your decisions are what are going to guide your success and your achievements. And, you know, that's going to look different for everyone here. So the resentment one is a big one for me. There's definitely things that I resent within our business, right? But I've got to make a decision to change that and set a new boundary so that I'm no longer unhappy, you know, with that aspect. So I just wanted to share a few mindset notes with you guys as well, give you some like additional things to ponder when you go home tonight, or when you're at the gym, or, you know, when you're driving around, or whatever it is that you're doing. So 2 more slides. Would love to get some feedback from you guys. How did I do? 1 to 5. Post it in the chat. 1, this sucks. Will, you suck. 5, this is great. I learned something. Always love getting your feedback. Really helps me obviously like create trainings and content for you guys that is of value. So fortunately not getting any ones, so that I feel good about that. Really appreciate it, guys. Really do appreciate that. Obviously I do this for you. We want to just not hold the curtains back on anything, right? Like I can honestly tell you that, especially the lead scoring stuff specifically and the disqualification, like no one taught us that. We learned that internally. Like there's no reason to keep stuff from you guys. Like, so that's always, what we aim to do. Just give you guys digestible value. Yeah. Like Eric said. So, last thing, we got that inner circle free for 30 days for everybody. So I'm going to share those links in the chat for you guys. Right now we've got, so thepaidtrafficinsiders.com/live training. Inner Circle is where we do our Wednesday coaching calls. We do audits and reviews on your offers, your creative, your funnels, everything that we talked about today. We've got channels in Slack for offers, funnels, creative, all that good stuff. You can send us Loom videos to get feedback on your campaigns, on your offers, on your messaging, on your creative. And then I'm going to send you guys the Google Sheet link here in the chat as well. So the link in the chat is for the lead scoring matrix. So if you need to work on and implement that the lead scoring system, you guys can use that and then plug, what you find in there. Francis, I'll touch on your question. And then if you go to that thepaidtrafficinsiders.com, the code for the free 30 days is LT0926. So I'll pop that into the chat as well. And would love to have you guys join us in our mastermind and in our inner circle. So Francisco, for example, is in the inner circle. So we do stuff like this for, every Wednesday where we're just working on your guys' offers and campaigns together. We've got coaches in there, obviously, who will help you with all of that. And I'm here to take on questions. So if you guys want to either pop them into the chat, or if you want to use the hand raise feature like that, just raise your hand. We'll go one by one, and I'll hang out so long as that there are questions. So I think Eric might have had one. Eric, did I see that? Yeah.
And squares. So 3
Yes.
Awesome.
Hey, so so two questions. Number one, how are you avoiding complications between the browser pixel and the CAPI in terms of like the elimination?
Conversion API only, no browser setup.
So you eliminate the browser pixel entirely?
Yep.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any other benefit to that?
Well, you're getting direct server to server data, right? So this was kind of like one of the big solves for like the whole like data loss iOS, like what was it, 15.6 or whatever update, where basically what happens is first party data, third party data, once the data crosses, I'm starting to get hoarse, bear with me one second. Once the data passes through your form, doesn't matter if it's Shopify or if it's a HubSpot form or a Go High Level form, right? And now it becomes your data, right? So server side, that's where server side tracking and attribution. I mean, straight up, I wish I actually would have included this screenshot in the slides, but I didn't. I mean, we're talking about match rates of 9 out of 10 or higher because of doing that. Like, especially if you're using Go High Level, you can set up conversion API for the page view or the view content event. And then you can literally set up conversion API based on the form fill on any event that you want. So lead, complete registration, purchase, however your funnel is working, right? So once you get that information, if you're collecting that information in the form, name, phone number, email address, those qualification questions like you're mentioning, or like I was mentioning, that now all becomes third-party data, or first-party data rather, sorry, that you can then pass through to Conversion API, and the match rates are fucking phenomenal. Like straight up, they're phenomenal. Like on my shit, CTM, we have a 9.2% match rate on purchase. I don't have any browser side implementation on the CTM funnel. And actually, the way that I found that out, I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'll take other questions. We've always been a massive Heroes proponent. I've used it since 2019. I started doing. We used to be on ClickFunnels in probably going back to like late 2022. And then I met Brant, and Brant's like, yo, you got to switch to Go High Level. I was like, I don't want to fucking do that. Long story short, did it. But I was also testing AnyTrack at the time because I was like, oh, I want to see if AnyTrack can work. This is what was actually interesting. If you guys really know into the weeds of this, ClickFunnels has Conversion API. ClickFunnels has Conversion API. Sure. Then we also had the browser side implementation on all of our funnels. And then we also had, I think I had like, we had some other duplicate, somehow some duplicate pixel firing that was happening. And I wound up becoming pretty buddy-buddy with the founder of AnyTrack. So like I literally jump on a call with him, and we're digging through like the call records in the Stripe, like queue log, like the developer log, trying to find out, like troubleshooting this thing. Long story short, he's like, dude, just strip the browser out, strip away Conversion API from ClickFunnels, only rely on Conversion API through AnyTrack. And this was like 2.5, 3 years ago. And I was like, this sounds insane. And I've never done it any other way other than that since. So
you're all in on AnyTrack still?
No, I don't use. We don't need it anymore. Go High Level is too good. What do I need AnyTrack for? I don't need AnyTrack.
Go High Level with the CAPI native.
Yeah, it does what AnyTrack should do. Like, and you're getting all of the data through the form, which all AnyTrack does is take the information from Stripe and then shoot it to Conversion API. Right? Well, you're already integrated if you're using High Level, or if you're using Shopify, you're already integrated with Stripe, right? So you can just tap in through the CRM.
Thanks for saving me a bunch of time and money on that. I was looking at AnyTrack a while back too.
Dude, that literal alone was like a year plus of digging. Brant might remember when we were struggling with 3.5 match rates on purchases because of ClickFunnels and AnyTrack. It was fucking terrible. And then I finally moved to High Level because I was like, dude, this attribution tracking is so bad that I was like, I'm just going to do it. Do I read the overall data within High Level? No, not really. I still look at all the ad metrics in Ads Manager. Go ahead, Eric.
If you have time for another question later, I wanted to ask about how this might work for local brick and mortar, but I want to let some other people have some questions first.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate that. And we'll for sure come back to that. Moritz, you've been patient. What do you got on your mind?
Hey, Will, first of all, thank you so much for the training. Very interesting. 5 out of 5. Very, very cool.
I appreciate that.
I have a question. So the pixel needs 50 events to optimize, if I understand correctly. And to book a call, it's usually, I've never seen something below $100, $150, $200, whatever, depending on.
Unless you're outside the US, maybe you could.
So 50 events on a booked call is like $5,000 per ad to optimize.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to spend $55,000 for this. So how would you proceed there?
Yeah, that's where Yanni's question came in earlier of like, you have to have multiple events within the funnel. So for example, you might have the lead event after opt-in, right? And as you know, much easier to get a lead than it is to get a call, right? So you're going to optimize for leads first while you're collecting all of that information, and then you can move to call, right? So it's basically like a two-phased approach. It's part of a scaling strategy. So you're going to want to optimize for lead first. It doesn't have to be lead. You could use complete registration. You could use complete registration as well. It doesn't matter what you're optimizing for. It just matters that Meta knows which event you are optimizing. So you're going to get the same results for complete registration versus event. It's more of just like more of a user journey type of thing. Usually a lead comes before a complete registration in terms of like from a technical perspective. So yeah, just use leads first, and then you're going to have the lead event fire after that opt-in portion in the funnel. And then the call is going to fire after they physically book that call. You know, they go to the calendar, they select the time.
But so do you fire multiple events? So you fire a lead after the lead, and you also fire after the call.
Correct.
And first you optimize for the lead, and then later you somehow select the call event.
Correct. Yep.
Exactly. Okay.
Yep.
And,
Cool.
and one more thing, like Meta has the 7-day window, right? So
Yep.
if you do a live event, as you said, you do a live workshop,
yeah,
it's not happening the next day usually, right? So you collect leads from today to whatever next week, and next Sunday is the event. And after that event, the people fill out the form, and the event gets fired, but it will not get attributed, right, to the ad because it's out of the 7-day window. Is that correct?
In that example, yes. If you're running sort of like a live format, that's the difference of live versus automated. So very specific question. I mean, typically you're not running ads more than 7 days in advance anyways. Even when we ran some ads to test, because this is a new live training format for us, we only ran them 2 to 3 days in advance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I mean, how many times has anyone actually attended something when they signed up for it 7 days ago versus like, oh, this is 1 or 2 days from now.
Makes
so
sense.
Yeah, definitely keep when you're spending in mind versus when the event is because of that. For sure.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. One last thing on that real quick is that if you're using a live or an automated webinar or like live training, keep in mind that the call event would fire once they book it. Like, so let's say that you were to book a call 2 days from now with us, or even 9 days from now, because you booked it today from the campaign, that event is going to fire because you booked it today. So keep in mind that it doesn't matter as much when the call is as much as when they booked it, because that's when it's going to fire. So keep that in mind. Yep. Perfect. Happy to take more questions, whether you want to do hand raise or pop something in the chat. Let's see. Go high level versus funnelcenter.io. Transparently, I've never used funnelcenter.io. I am not an affiliate of Go High Level, but I am a massive advocate of Go High Level. Huge fan. Jeremiel, is GHL's website builder as good as, dude, it's not even close, bro. GHL is so much better. Like the page load speeds are better. The ease of use is better. Like it's not even, it doesn't even compare. In my view. So, let's see. Brant, did you actually have a question or you?
I was just gonna say one thing in terms of page speed. As soon as we brought over, like the day we went live with our funnels in high level from ClickFunnels, our conversion rate went through the roof. Remember that? And it was all because of the speed of the pages.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally the same exact offer, content, etc. But that was, for context for everybody, that was like 18 months ago. I don't even know, probably about 18 months ago at this point. Let's see what else. Does anyone else have a question, whether you want to pop it into the chat or raise your hand? Happy to take those. Eric, you had one more, so yeah, let's touch on yours.
Yeah, so for local businesses, I know like the 50 event requirement might get in the way for a smaller spender who's like, budget between 1,000 and 2,000 or whatever, something like that. For can you speak to that about what you would do in that scenario?
It's tough from the sense of like getting to the 50. Typically you're just going to lean more into the creative optimization, right? Because your creative is going to fatigue a little bit faster. You've got smaller audiences. You're going to reach frequency caps, much more quickly. Like, let's say you were marketing in Orlando, right? Like we're in Orlando, and you're throwing up a 10 to 50 mile radius around Orlando, and you're running maybe lead gen campaigns for roofers, right? Yeah, that you're going to hit learning limited, which means at some point probably performance is going to decline. So then you've got to move budget essentially into the next creative, and then sort of like ride the wave of it starting off well early on, and then as it declines, then move into the next one, right? But you can still do all of this lead scoring stuff with local businesses for sure, as long as you can tap into their CRM and apply the qualification criteria and the lead scoring. You can still optimize the campaigns. And that doesn't, I know that I said earlier, like cheap leads equals cheap clients or cheap customers, but the actual qualification can also actually dial in cost as well, because the conversion rate is going to be higher, right? So it's obviously a case-by-case basis in that scenario. Like everyone's going to have unique circumstances with regards to how they're doing lead gen. But yeah, if anything, I'm actually looking to acquire a business, a massive. I think you might have saw me actually with my post on Facebook yesterday. I'm looking to acquire a massive lead gen business that does about 7 million a year, because I want to be able to do this. And they do local lead gen with franchise businesses. And I'm just like salivating at the mouth to be able to get the business, because they're not doing any of this lead scoring stuff. And the business is doing like several hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in profit. So yeah, I'm scratching or I'm kicking myself to basically like get that going, because of all of the performance advantages that can come from doing that just a lot of people don't know how to do. And it's all local stuff. Think like dentist in Orlando that needs leads. Like it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's I'm doing some of that kind of stuff in a few different areas, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking. So, would you move it higher up the event funnel part of the funnel, or in terms of like what you would score or what you would be firing against? You would still be capturing the same information,
Right.
but you would be disqualifying against a different or higher level up in the events. Is that how you would change it?
Meaning like if you were to disqualify based on the lead event versus like the call event.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just getting going, like let's say you were like, man, I want to go implement this strategy. Yeah, I would, like with Moritz, I would start with optimizing through leads first, and then slowly working in the lead scoring. If you did these two things without even using lead disqualification, implement lead scoring, then I wish I would have put this in the presentation, create a custom audience in your CRM, right? So go high level, HubSpot, I don't care what you use, that meets the criteria, right? So I want all leads that have a lead score of 2, 3, and 4. Now go create a lookalike audience on the qualified leads list, and now run the ads against the lookalike. I'm doing exactly this. I still use lookalike audiences, guys. I don't run broad open targeting on literally everything. I'm still using interest. I'm still using lookalikes. That alone will improve your SQL percentage, because you're seeding the algorithm again based on an audience that you've already validated. So you can do that with local lead gen as well. Keep in mind your CPMs are going to be a little bit higher, right? But I'd rather just not have shit traffic, right? I wish I would have put that in the training. I didn't put it in the training. Now you guys know. It's in the recording. So at a minimum, I would do that, even if you couldn't yet get to the point of the disqualification because of the 50 events and all that stuff. And you will for sure see SQL percentage improve, because then you're just going to start tracking what the percentage of qualified leads are that I'm generating week over week.
What lead is as high as you can go with it, though, right? Like you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Else.
So yeah, pretty much. So you've
Because
got
that's the only thing that's server. That's the highest level at the server level.
Like an add to,
First
from
of all.
like an add to cart perspective. Yeah. Like
Right.
ecom, right? So yeah, you're going to probably go something like, and this could be debated, but you're probably going to go like lead, complete registration, submit application, schedule call or custom event call. That's probably going to be like the order of events. So yeah, lead is going to be like the highest one.
Yeah, do me a favor and stay out of the local lead gen space, Will. I appreciate it.
I mean, if there's big money behind it, I'm always interested. So it just depends. But in terms of like I'll give you one little nugget and why I'm really interested in buying this business, because it's every one of the clients is the same exact execution strategy. So it's templated times 100, right? So otherwise I would agree with you, because working with one dentist and one chiropractor and one roofer and one fencing client, like, yeah, those learnings can be leveraged across it, but they're all of the setups are going to be different. Cool. Great
Appreciate it.
questions. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since I've seen you too, by the way. Good to have you back.
Yeah, I'll be back in the group in the lead
Nice.
program or whatever it was soon.
Nice.
Thanks.
I'm going to take Francis's question real quick, and then I'll go Francisco, because Francis had popped that in there before. Have you A/B tested this with 2 different pixels on the same offer? Could you give me more context on that, Francis, of like, do you mean like the events specifically, or how do you mean? And if you want to just put it in the chat, that's fine too. Or if you want to, that's fine.
So the point of doing, can you hear me properly? Is my mic okay?
Yep, I got you.
The point of doing this is for the pixel to improve and just learn what a good quality lead is, right?
Correct.
So have you ever done this on 2 different pixels to definitively prove that it's working?
Yeah. So here's your metric of how it's working. This is why I probably should have shown this again. Is like, you need to implement the new metric of tracking, which is either going to be one of 2 metrics or KPIs. So we call that MQL, marketing qualified lead, or SQL, sales qualified lead. So this scenario, this like little case study right here, this was implemented on the prehistoric pixel. No new pixel needed, because once we implemented the new KPI, meaning the new data point, before, we basically went back into the CRM. We said, once we implemented the lead scoring, we totaled up the amount of leads, and then we divided the number that were qualified divided by the total. But then we implemented the strategy, and then we started tracking over time what the improvement was in sales qualified lead. So it really doesn't need to be AP tested so much as that it needs to be tracked. So, and I'll put this in the chat, like what you guys want to do is track sales qualified lead percentage. Sales qualified lead percentage. So what that is total leads, or it should say qualified leads divided by total. And that's what's going to give you so then you're just going to track before and after, basically. And now we're averaging about 67% on this offer specifically, whereas they were struggling. We started in June. From about January to June, they were struggling like lower than 40%. So there was a pretty long time period, for example, of this case in particular. This is actually a direct screenshot out of the HubSpot CRM. So this is HubSpot data. This isn't even like a manipulated report. So
perfect.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
how you could say it again. Sorry.
I said, thank you. That answers my question.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. So pumped that we've got back-to-back days where we're finally able to talk. All right, Francisco, what do you got for me?
Yeah, hi, Will. Just 2 quick questions. So the first one is the title of your webinar says, without needing to post 3 times a week, right? So I guess my question is, how important do you think creating content is as a part of your funnel to acquire customers? That's the first one.
Let's see, who's on the call right now? I just wanted to see if what I would say would basically offend anyone.
Yeah.
In the most humble way possible, we did 8 million last year, and I have 5,000 followers on Instagram. And I haven't posted a video in, I don't even fucking know, 6-7 months.
Got it.
And when I was paying someone very well known and prominent in the space to do content for me, didn't really do shit. Like, it's a very long-term strategy. Organic content builds audience and awareness and attracts attention, right? Like, you have to then build a system around that content. I'm always willing to pay for speed. That's why I love ads. I pay
Right.
for speed. Organic content can drive growth. If you have organic and paid, 100%, like 1 + 1 = 3, but you've got to be driving a ton of views and awareness on a consistent basis. Like, I'm talking about posting 3 times a day, 7 days a week, driving tens of thousands of views, like, where those people are then coming into your middle of funnel audiences, right? That you can then advertise to. But if I had to get, this is a classic, like Billy, what's his last name? Billy Jean. If I didn't have any money and I needed to generate revenue tomorrow, what would I do? I'd run the ad that I literally just shared with you guys to an offer that can generate me 5 to 10 grand in 7 days or less. That's what I would do. Like, if I start posting content on social, unless I have a handful of people who want to buy from me, nobody's buying from me right away from that.
Right.
So that's why I've always been an advocate of paid. And at the same time, there are plenty of billionaires who've built billion-dollar businesses without Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I sit more in that category than I do like on the other side. Do I believe that organic can work? Yes. If I'm being really honest with you, hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, I don't give a fuck if people like me or not. And I don't care if people follow me, to be honest. Like, I aim to give value to our community, and I don't do it for the followers and the attention. I do it for the impact and to help you guys and to grow my business, you know?
Absolutely.
A lot of people love that vanity stuff. It's not for me.